The woman you loved the most betrays you, lulls you into the sleep of death, and your soul returns not for love, but for revenge. My name is Jack. I'm 28 years old, and for most of my adult life, I have lived in the steady rhythm of work. I was employed at a motor showroom, where the smell of new cars and polished bikes filled the air every single day. From morning until evening, my hands and mind were consumed by tasks arranging vehicles, attending customers, handling paperwork, and delivering cars or bikes to buyers. My life was predictable, almost mechanical. Though I worked hard, there was always a quiet emptiness inside me. My days were filled with engines and machines, but my nights were spent in silence, staring at the ceiling of my small room. I often wondered if this was all life had to offer. Work, sleep, repeat. No dreams, no warmth, no laughter, noise of engines and the weight of loneliness. I had no complaints, yet I carried a strange yearning in my heart. A longing for something or someone that I couldn't define. I didn't know then that my life was about to change completely, because one ordinary day, in the middle of an ordinary shift at the showroom, someone walked in who would change my destiny forever. It was late afternoon when she arrived. The sun cast a golden glow across the polished cars inside the showroom, and I was busy checking a delivery form. Then the door opened, and in stepped a young woman, whose presence immediately drew every eye in the room. Her name, I would later learn, was Maria. She was graceful, yet unassuming, with a smile that seemed to brighten even the dullest corners. Her eyes held both innocence and curiosity, and for a moment, I forgot the work in my hands. I had met countless customers before, but none had stirred me the way she did in that single instant. I guided her around the showroom, explaining features of different cars. She listened politely, her soft laughter slipping into the air whenever I stumbled over words. My heart raced. I had never been the kind of man to fall easily, yet something about Maria pierced straight into my soul. That evening, after she left, the silence of my room felt heavier than usual. Her face stayed in my mind like an echo I could not escape. It was then I realized I had fallen in love at first sight. The next time Maria visited the showroom, I felt my chest tighten with anticipation. I had prepared myself, rehearsed words silently in my head, though nothing seemed good enough for her. She wasn't just another customer, she was the missing piece I had been searching for without even knowing it. I watched her examine the cars, with gentle curiosity, her fingers brushing over the polished surfaces, as though she were feeling more than just the metal. Every smile she gave me felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. My heart was no longer mine, it belonged to her, though she didn't know it yet. One evening, summoning all the courage I could gather, I went to her, with a simple bouquet of fresh flowers. My hands trembled as I extended them toward her. "Maria," I said softly, "this is more than just admiration. I've fallen for you. Will you be with me?" For a heartbeat, silence reigned, and I feared rejection. But then she smiled, her eyes warm with affection, and nodded. My soul lit up like never before. That night, for the first time in years, I felt alive. Love had finally entered my life. From that day on, Maria and I began meeting often. At first, it was innocent, quiet conversations over tea walks through crowded markets, or evenings spent sitting in the park beneath the fading sun. Yet each meeting brought us closer. Her laughter became the rhythm of my heart, and her presence erased the emptiness I once carried. I shared my world with her, the noise of the showroom, the long hours of work, the small apartment I returned to each night. She, in turn, spoke of her dreams, her childhood, and the simple joys that made her smile. I realized then that love wasn't always grand gestures. It was in the way she listened, the way she cared, the way she made me feel whole. Time passed quickly, and soon our bond was too strong to be ignored. I asked her to be my wife, my partner in every step of life. Maria accepted without hesitation. Our marriage was simple but filled with happiness. Friends and family celebrated, and for me, it felt like the start of a new life. No longer was I just Jack, the man who worked at a showroom. I was a husband, deeply in love, and for the first time, truly complete. Married life with Maria was everything I had dreamed of and more. Our home became a sanctuary, filled with warmth and laughter. Each morning, I would rise early, prepare for work, and head to the showroom. In the evenings, no matter how tiring the day had been, I always returned with eagerness, knowing she would be waiting for me. Maria welcomed me with a smile that washed away the exhaustion of the day. Sometimes we cooked together, other times she insisted I rest while she prepared dinner. We shared stories at the table, small jokes, and plans for the future. Nights were peaceful. We would sit near the window, gazing at the stars, her head resting on my shoulder. For a while, it felt as if nothing could break our world. There were no shadows, no fears, only the steady comfort of love. My job was simple, delivering cars and bikes from the showroom to their new owners. Though it wasn't glamorous, Maria's pride in me made it meaningful. Life was smooth, almost perfect. I never imagined that beneath the surface, a storm was slowly gathering, one that would destroy everything I held dear. Among the people I knew was an old friend, someone who lived his life in a way very different from mine. Every night, without fail, he went to clubs, surrounded himself with loud music, flashing lights, and the bitter smell of alcohol. I had never been interested in such places. My life revolved around work and Maria. One evening, however, he came to me with his usual careless grin. "Jack," he said, "you work too hard. You need to relax, to live a little. Come with me tonight. Just once. You'll see what fun really is." At first, I refused. Clubs and alcohol weren't my world. But he kept insisting, teasing me, telling me I was too serious. Against my better judgment, I finally gave in. Perhaps I thought one night out would do no harm. The club was nothing like I had ever known. Blinding lights, deafening music, and people moving as if lost in some wild trance. My friend ordered drinks and pushed a glass into my hand. "Don't worry," he laughed. "Just try it." That night, for the first time in my life, I drank, and when I stumbled home, the taste of alcohol still on my lips, Maria was waiting. When I entered the house that night, the world around me still swayed. My head was heavy, my steps uneven, and the sharp smell of alcohol clung to my clothes. Maria was waiting at the door, her face pale with worry. "Jack, where were you?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I called you so many times. Why didn't you answer?" I tried to explain, stumbling over my words. "It wasn't my fault. My friend, he tricked me into drinking. I didn't mean to. I swear, Maria, I didn't want this." Her eyes searched mine, filled with both hurt and concern. She guided me to the bed, laid me down gently, and stroked my hair. "You need rest," she whispered. "We'll talk tomorrow." As I drifted into a restless sleep, shame gnawed at me. I had always promised myself I would never let such things touch my life, let alone my marriage. Yet, in a single night, I had broken that promise. The next morning, after breakfast, I returned to work as usual, determined to put it behind me. But the seed had been planted, and temptation would return sooner than I ever imagined. That evening passed peacefully, and I tried to convince myself it had only been a mistake, a one-time weakness I would never repeat. Maria's worried eyes lingered in my memory, and I silently promised I would never hurt her again. But promises can be fragile. The very next night, the doorbell rang. It was my friend once more, standing there with the same mischievous smile. "Jack, come on," he urged. "Last night was just the beginning. You can't hide in that boring life forever. Let's go." I hesitated, glancing back at Maria. She looked uneasy, sensing trouble. Still, against her silent plea, I followed him. The club swallowed me again, with its noise and lights. Another drink slid into my hand, then another, until my senses dulled and my body swayed. Hours later, I stumbled back home, drunk and exhausted. Maria was waiting, her face pale with anger and fear. "I called you again and again," she said, her voice shaking. "Do you even know what time it is?" I mumbled an apology, unable to meet her eyes, and collapsed onto the bed. The guilt was sharp, but my weakness was sharper. The descent had begun. Days turned into weeks, and slowly, what had begun as an accident became a routine. Each night, my friend came to the door, and each night, I followed him. The club became my second home. The music, the smoke, the burn of alcohol. At first, I resisted, but then I began to crave it. Maria watched helplessly as I slipped further away. She begged me to stop, her voice breaking each time. "Jack, you're not the man I married," she whispered. "This path will destroy you." But my ears were deaf to her pleas. The drink drowned her words, numbing me from guilt and pain. I began neglecting work. Deliveries were delayed, customers complained, and my employer's trust in me weakened. Yet, even as everything around me started to crumble, I clung to the bottle like a lifeline. At home, Maria cried silently at night, her heart breaking. To her, I was no longer the husband who once brought her flowers, but a man chained to poison. And in her despair, a thought began to grow inside her, a dark resolve. She told herself she would not endure this forever. Unbeknown to me, My downfall was fueling the birth of betrayal. Maria was no longer the woman I had known on our wedding day. The sparkle in her eyes had dimmed, replaced by shadows of disappointment and pain. Each night I came home drunk, carried half-conscious by my so-called friend, and each night she sat in silence, her heart breaking. But inside that silence, her thoughts grew darker. She began to believe I had ruined not only myself, but also her. Life, love had turned to bitterness, and bitterness to resolve. Divorce crossed her mind again and again, but she hesitated. If she left me now, she would walk away with nothing. So Maria waited, planning carefully. She decided she would first secure everything I owned. The property, the money, the assets, all of it, had to be transferred to her. Only then would she free herself from me, leaving me with nothing but the bottle I clung to. I was too lost in my own weakness to notice the change in her. While I drank myself into oblivion, Maria's smile turned into a mask, hiding her secret intentions. The woman I had trusted more than life itself was preparing to betray me in the cruelest way possible. My evenings had become predictable. Would leave with my friend, drown myself in alcohol, and return late at night, barely able to stand. Often, it was he who dragged me into the house, supporting my weight, like a loyal companion. I never questioned his motives. I was too drunk, too blind. One night, when he carried me inside, Maria met us at the door. For the first time, I saw her and my friend exchange a glance, quick, sharp, and unsettling. He laughed softly and said, "You must be tired of living with Jack like this." Maria's answer was a whisper, but it cut through me even in my haze. "You're right. I should have noticed, should have sensed the danger in those words. But intoxication dulled everything, my instincts, my reason, my ability to see the truth." From that moment on, a bond began to grow between my wife and my friend. Forged in my weakness and betrayal, while I lay unconscious in one room, they found comfort in each other in another. Nights that should have belonged to me were stolen, piece by piece, under the roof of my own home. And I had no idea. The days blurred together in a haze of alcohol and neglect. I was no longer myself. I skipped work, ignored responsibilities, and lived only for the nights when my friend would arrive. Maria stopped pleading with me. Instead, she grew distant, quiet, and strangely patient, as though waiting for something I could not see. When I stumbled home, the world spinning around me, I believed Maria was tending to me with care. She helped me to bed, gave me water, and whispered words I was too drunk to understand. But what I didn't know was that as soon as I fell unconscious, another story began. My friend lingered long after he brought me home. Their conversations grew longer, their whispers deeper. What began with stolen glances turned into secret meetings. Behind my back, under my very roof, Maria and my so-called friend betrayed me in the worst way imaginable. And I, blind and broken, never suspected a thing. I thought the enemy was the bottle in my hand, never realizing the true poison was standing beside me every night. The walls of my home, once filled with love, now hid secrets darker than death itself. One night, my friend handed me a drink that tasted stronger than usual. The burn in my throat was sharper, and within minutes my body felt heavier, my vision hazier. Something about it unsettled me. For the first time in months, a flicker of suspicion cut through my drunken fog. Why was he always so eager to see me drunk? Why did Maria no longer argue when I'd left with him? Questions spun in my mind, but I swallowed them, pretending not to notice. Yet the seed of doubt had been planted. The following evening, I made a choice. When he handed me the same glass, I secretly poured it away, leaving only enough to wet my lips. Then I pretended. I staggered, slurred my words, and let my body sink into the familiar act of drunkenness. That night, as always, he dragged me home. Maria greeted us, concern painted on her face. But this time, I kept my senses sharp beneath the mask of stupor. I wanted to know what happened after I fell asleep, and soon, I would uncover the truth, one that would shatter me far more than any drink ever could. That night, after my act of drunkenness, I let Maria guide me to bed. My body went limp, my breathing heavy, as though I had surrendered fully to the alcohol. She believed it. Her gentle touch soon turned cold, and she slipped quietly from the room. Moments later, I heard whispers. My friend's voice, low and mocking, filled the hallway. "He's out again," he said with a laugh. "He'll never know." Maria's reply cut me like a knife. "Good, I can't stand him anymore." My heart pounded, but I forced myself to stay still. Slowly, I rose and followed the sounds to the other room. The door was slightly ajar, and through it I saw the unthinkable. My wife and my friend together on the bed, betraying me with no shame. No hesitation. Rage boiled inside me, but before I could act, dizziness struck. My head spun violently, and I realized too late Maria had mixed something into the water she gave me. The sleeping pills were working, dragging me down into darkness. I collapsed to the floor, powerless. My last sight, their startled faces as my body gave way. I tried to fight the heaviness dragging me under, but the sleeping pills were stronger than my will. My limbs refused to move, my tongue felt heavy, and my vision blurred into shadows. I could still hear the Maria's sharp whisper, my friend's cruel laugh, but I could not rise. Then I felt their hands on me, rough, unkind, and cold. Something coarse and tight brushed against my neck. My mind screamed, but my body was already betraying me. The rope tightened, cutting into my skin. Pressure built in my chest as air fled from my lungs. I wanted to call Maria's name, to ask her why, but no sound escaped me. My heart pounded faster, then slower, as the world dimmed around me. Her face hovered above me once, the face of my beloved wife, now a mask of betrayal. Beside her stood the man I once called a friend. His grip strong and merciless. With one final pull, the rope silenced me forever. My body went still, but my soul burned. They buried me in the courtyard of my own home, shoveling dirt over the man who had loved too deeply and trusted too blindly. The soil was cold as it covered me, layer after layer, pressing down, until even the faint light of the moon was lost. I was no longer Jack the husband, or Jack the work I was a corpse hidden beneath the earth, betrayed by the two people I had trusted most. Maria and my friend stood above my shallow grave, their hands dirty but their hearts free of guilt. With forged papers, Maria claimed my property as her own, signing away my life's work with the stroke of a pen. To the world, I had vanished. To her, I was nothing more than a memory erased by greed. But death did not free me. My spirit lingered, watching, waiting. Rage coursed through me like fire, hotter than any pain I had known in life. I had loved Maria with everything I had, and she had repaid me with betrayal and murder. Nights passed, their laughter echoed through the house, cruel reminders of the life they had stolen from me. But in the shadows of my grave, something within me awoke. I was no longer bound by flesh. I was vengeance itself, and I would not rest until justice was mine. It was a quiet night when my vengeance first took form. The air was still, the moon hidden behind clouds, and the house lay in silence. Maria and my so-called friend slept side by side in the very room where they had planned my death. But I was not gone. From the depths of the earth, my spirit rose, torn between sorrow and fury. My body had been silenced, but my soul had not been destroyed. I drifted through the house, unseen yet powerful, a shadow heavier than the night itself. When they stirred in their sleep, they felt it, the chill in the air, the weight of unseen eyes watching them. Maria's breath quickened. My friend muttered, uneasily, twisting in his sleep, and then, through the darkness, they saw me. A pale, ghostly figure stood at the foot of their bed. My face was the same, yet no longer human. Hollow eyes burned with fire, and the rope they had used on me hung around my neck like a mark of judgment. They gasped, trembling, clutching each other. Their voices broke into pleas for forgiveness. But I was past mercy. Their screams tore through the night as they clung to each other, staring at the ghostly figure I had become. "Jack, please," Maria cried, her voice shaking with terror. My friend's face turned pale, sweat pouring down his temples. "We didn't mean," he stammered, but even he couldn't finish the lie. I moved closer, the sound of the rope dragging against the floor echoing like thunder in their ears. The same rope they had used to end my life now hung from my hands, shimmering with an otherworldly glow. "I gave you my heart," I whispered, though my voice no longer belonged to the living, "and you crushed it. I gave you my trust, and you buried me beneath the earth. Did you think death would silence me?" Maria sobbed uncontrollably, falling to her knees, but my soul had no mercy left. The betrayal had carved too deep, the wound too final. The rope lifted itself, as though guided by invisible hands, and wrapped slowly around their necks. Their eyes widened in horror as they realized what was coming. This was not a chance for forgiveness, it was the beginning of their punishment. The rope tightened around their throats, just as it had around mine. They thrashed wildly, clawing at the invisible grip, but no strength could break free. Their gasps filled the room, sharp and desperate, as the air drained from their lungs. Maria's face twisted with horror. Once, she had been the woman I adored, the reason I believed in love. Now she was nothing but a traitor, choking on the same fate she had chosen for me. Her eyes bulged with terror as she tried to speak my name, but only a broken croak escaped. Beside her, my friend struggled violently, his pride stripped away. The man who had laughed as he betrayed me now writhed like a helpless animal, fear consuming him. His eyes met mine for one last time, silently begging, but I had no pity to give. There, screams filled the house, but soon grew weaker, fading into silence. The rope squeezed tighter, unrelenting, until at last their bodies slumped, lifeless, side by side on the bed where they had once mocked me. Justice had been served not by the law of man, but by the wrath of the dead. The house fell into silence, the same silence that had once been filled with Maria's laughter and my friend's mocking voice. Now, it was broken only by the faint creak of the rope, swaying gently in the air. Their bodies lay motionless, their lifeless eyes wide with the terror of their last moments. I stood above them, no longer the weak and broken man they had betrayed, but the spirit of vengeance. My rage had been satisfied, yet the emptiness inside me remained. Love had turned to poison, trust had turned to dust, and life had ended in betrayal. I thought of the nights Maria had smiled at me, of the day she had accepted my flowers, of the vows we had shared. All of it felt like a cruel lie now, nothing more than a mask, hiding her greed. My friend, once a companion, had become the hand that ended me. With their deaths, my revenge was complete. Their screams had ended, their lies silenced. But my soul, bound by pain, would never truly rest. Lingered in the shadows, a ghost chained to betrayal, forever reminding the world, love can give life, but betrayal can awaken death itself.